Thank you. Cecilia Chen from Hong Kong U. Hi. I just want to ask, right, do your support unit have any mechanism for evaluating the e-learning course? Because obviously QA is extremely important, and some lecture, all they really want to do is put the PowerPoint up online, and they call that e-learning, right? And so is there any mechanism, or how would you evaluate to ensure that, say, the course is outcome-based, as you just kind of say, outcome-based e-learning course? How do we ensure that, and what have we done to ensure that? Thanks.
The simple answer is yes. You need to collect a whole variety of evidence, otherwise you can't plan and strategize for the future. And so we have several mechanisms for doing that. For example, all of the current core courses that have been developed for the new curriculum in 2012 are all being very extensively evaluated through qualitative and quantitative means. It's quite a big undertaking. Those sorts of things will inform practice and resourcing and professional development for the university over the coming years. So encouraging the scholarship of teaching, I see as a really important role.
I do not believe that you need to evaluate e-learning courses on their own, because to me, the course is actually something that the teacher grasps as will have in terms of teaching and learning activities and outcomes for the students. So basically, if you're talking about evaluation, it should be the entire course or the entire program, whether you've achieved the outcomes. But after saying that, you do really want people to be more actively engaged with e-learning, not just as a content repository. So I think the way that I've been doing it is actually ask the students and the teachers to actually list the kind of things that they actually do with e-learn on the courses. So from the basic content to discussion to actually role play and quizzes and things like that. And then from that we actually try and see how engaged they are.
We do, I think, three things. I mean, we're all collaborative, but competition works really well. And one of the things that I'll be quite honest I use as a strategy is with a particular department, if I can suggest that another department's doing better, then there's a little bit of peer pressure that works. So one of the things we do with departments is that on request we will give them a sort of summary of how e-learning is being used in their department, contrasted with the university mean. And it's a simple statistical thing, but it's a trigger for discussion about what might happen as a department. So that, in a sense, gets a bit more departmental hold on the entire process. The next thing we do is when there's anyone who wants to do anything, I think I mentioned in my talk that we really try and form partnerships with teachers and help them form evaluation plans. They're required in all central grants that come from Chinese U. You have to have an evaluation plan. We will help people do that, and then that often goes through to some sort of publication, whether it's a conference or further. The final thing I wanted to say was that when it comes to the 4-year curriculum, we are about to embark on a series of reviews through every undergraduate program, which will have a formal panel, and we'll look at the program design. Now, one of the questions that has to be answered is to what extent or how are you using technology in the design of the program and courses for 2012. Now that's quite a breakthrough for Chinese U. It's not are you using technology, it's how we're using technology, and I think it's as Eva says, it's integrating it into course and program design, and then, as I said, giving data back.
I think when it comes comes to evaluation, we're in one of those situations about espoused theory versus theory in use, made famous years ago by Argyris and Schoen, where people say it's a great idea, but then it's actually very hard to do. Evaluation itself, you can be evaluating so many things. The single intervention that's a new use of e-learning for a teacher in one subject, or the entire course or program, or the uses across an entire department or university. So you have to be focused and choose. It's just like Steve Ehrman and the Flashlight program. You have to choose what you're going to evaluate and shine the light in that area. And that's part of why it's so important for a e-learning strategy to define what they mean by evaluation, at least for that time period. Because you can't evaluate everything, or you'll be so busy evaluating you won't be doing anything. The other is how you actually make it happen. And for example, in PolyU, when we had money to fund a number of projects, we also had required evaluation. And right there in the position paper that I showed you in the first part of this panel, there was a commitment to evaluation where the teachers had to have an evaluation plan, that we actually had an evaluation officer, and the learning designers were intended to help the teachers do it, because once again, this is an additional workload. If it's that important, you help the teachers do it, not just go do it. And then you have to think about and have mechanisms in place for whatever evaluation, type of evaluation you're aiming at, to help make it happen easily. So since we were looking at more the individual project level, we not only made sure we had an officer, but we had survey forms as a starting point with core questions that they could change to meet their own specific needs. We had people trained to go in and do focus groups. We would go and sit in the first time they were using something and observe. We would help them run trackings and even build in various kinds of counters within what they were building so we could see how it was being used.
Sorry, Chair, I have a follow-up question if you don't mind.